In this video, we'll be deep diving into the incredible story of the Irish harp, from its mythical beginnings in the legends of the Dagda to its central role in Gaelic society, its heartbreaking decline and the passionate revival that began at the Belfast Harp Festival of 1792. We'll explore its influence on Irish music, the legacy of great harpers like Turlough O'Carolan, and how this ancient instrument continues to inspire musicians and cultural pride today. The Irish harp stands as a powerful and enchanting symbol of Ireland's rich cultural heritage. More than just a musical instrument, it embodies the nation's spirit and identity, appearing on everything from coins and flags to passports and government stationery, and not to forget the lovely pint of Guinness. Its sound has captivated audiences for centuries, and its history is deeply interwoven with the legends and lore of ancient Ireland. The story of the harp is not unique to Ireland. Its earliest evidence stretches back 5,000 years to ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. Various forms of the instrument travelled to Syria by 2000 BC and to Palestine, where they were used in Hebrew temple orchestras. Harps are still found across North and Central Africa, Burma and Afghanistan. Knowledge and designs of harps and lyres likely reached ancient Europe from the Middle East, possibly through Grecian regions. In Europe, the origins of the triangular frame harp are debated. Some scholars suggest a Scottish origin, pointing to carved 8th century Pictish stones as the earliest European depictions of such an instrument. These early Pictish harps were strung from horsehair and are believed to have spread south to the Anglo-Saxons, who used gut strings, and then west to the Gaels of the Scottish Highlands and Ireland. Indeed, out of 13 known depictions of triangular chordophone instruments from pre-11th century Europe, 12 come from Scotland. The earliest Irish word for a harp, the crich, is also thought to have Pictish roots. However, the connection of Ireland's earliest stringed instruments to triangular harp is not straightforward. Irish references to stringed instruments from the 6th century exist, with crich players holding esteemed positions in society. Yet, early Irish law and records do not describe what these instruments looked like, or how crich and chimpon, likely a lyre, differed. Many stone carvings in Ireland from the 8th to 12th centuries, often found in Christian contexts, depict lyres or quadrangular ecclesiastical instruments, rather than the characteristic triangular harp. Some sources even propose that the triangular harp might have a pre-Christian Celtic association in Ireland, and therefore was deliberately not depicted in carvings, with the psalterium, another stringed instrument, being shown instead as a symbol of Christianity. Alternatively, the 9th century Danish incursions might have introduced the triangular harp to Ireland. The first clear representations of the Irish triangular harp appeared much later, around the late 11th century, notably on the reliquary shrine of St. Medog. Regardless of the exact lineage, by the 11th century, the present triangular shape of the Irish harp was established. The Irish harp is characterised by its robust, heavy construction, likely developed to suit the Irish climate. Historically, it featured a sound box made of willow, metal strings, a T-shaped pillar, and a string bearer reinforced with metal. Unlike some other European harps, the strings were typically plucked with long fingernails. Its design also made it unique among single-row triangular harps, as the first 2 strings in the middle of the range were tuned to the same pitch. Historically, there were 3 main types of older Irish harps. Small, low-headed Irish harp. This was common from the 14th to early 16th centuries. These harps stood about 70 centimetres high and typically had 30 strings. The famous Trinity College harp, also known as Brian Boru's harp, is a prime example dating to the 14th or 15th century. It is one of the 3 oldest surviving medieval harps from the region, alongside the Queen Mary harp and the Lamont harp, both thought to have been made in Argyll, Scotland around the same time. The Trinity College harp originally had 29 brass strings, with an extra bass pin added later, and was designed to be played resting on the left shoulder. Large, low-headed Irish harp, used from the late 16th to 17th centuries, these instruments had between 35 and 45 strings. Surviving examples include the Otway and O'Fogarty's harp, 35 strings each, the Fitzgerald Kildare harp, 39 strings, and the Galway harp with 45 strings plus 7 sympathetic strings. Made in 1621, the Galway harp is richly carved and bears the inscription, "I am the Queen of Harps." The high-headed Irish harp, favoured by later itinerant harpers such as Turlough O'Carolan. 6 examples survive today, including the Bunworth harp and the O'Carolan harp. By the 17th century, Irish harps had become larger and floor-standing. However, the modern or gut-string Irish harp is the most common today, with many styles modelled on older, low-headed or high-headed designs or incorporating clórshaich elements. This distinction is important as the new harps developed in the early 19th century in Ireland had gut strings and semitone mechanisms, similar to orchestral pedal harps. These were built and marketed by John Egan, who introduced technical improvements and popularised a smaller, curved harp that looked Irish but played like a classical pedal harp, effectively shifting the tradition. In ancient Ireland, harpers held highly esteemed positions in society, serving as musicians, storytellers, and keepers of history. The harp was revered not only for its beautiful melodies, but also for its crucial role in preserving the oral traditions of the Celtic people. The professionalism of these harpers was legendary. They often studied for decades, concentrating all of their musical ability on playing and composing melodies for the instrument. In fact, their fingernails, which they used to pluck the wire strings, were protected under Brehon law. Chieftains and clans frequently employed harpers for their courts and banquets. Even outside observers recognised their exceptional skill. Gerald of Wales, a Norman Welsh cleric who arrived in Ireland shortly after the Norman invasion in 1185, famously praised Irish harp music despite his general dislike for the Irish people. He stated that the Irish applied a commendable industry to musical instruments and were incomparably more skillful than any other nation he had seen. He specifically mentioned the use of the harp and the chimpon. The harp also held profound mythological significance. In Irish mythology, Dag the Mór, the great king and warrior of the Tuatha Dé Danann, owned a magical harp named Uine. This harp was so powerful that it was said to control the very seasons, its music summoning the sun, wind and rain, inspiring courage or moving listeners to tears. When the Fomorians, Dagda's enemies, stole Uine to weaken him, Dagda tracked them down, called out for his harp, and it flew to his side. He then played 3 magical tunes: the Goltree, sorrow strain, which made their women weep; the Gentry, joy strain, which made their women and children laugh; and the Soontree, which lulled the thieves into a deep sleep, allowing Dagda to escape. This legend highlights the deep awe and reverence the ancient Irish held for the harp and its mystical power, seeing it as the purveyor of sorrow, gladness and repose. The harp's transition to a national symbol of Ireland has a complex and often troubled history. It was solidified as a national emblem by King Henry VIII in 1531, after he declared himself King of Ireland. He introduced a new design for coins featuring a harp topped with a crown. Initially, the harp was set against a dark blue background. However, as Celtic and Gaelic traditions began to lose ground in the imposing British influence, the harp quickly became a symbol of resistance to the Crown of England. This symbolism became particularly potent during the fight against English rule. When Owen Roe O'Neill fought the English in 1642, he adopted the harp symbol, but famously paired it with a green background. This iconic combination of the Irish harp and a green background carried through history, eventually becoming the coat of arms for the Leinster province in the 17th century and remaining so today. The growing association of the harp with a rebellious Irish identity made it a threat to the English Empire. In an attempt to gain control of the island, Queen Elizabeth I in 1603 ordered her officials in Ireland to hang harpers wherever found and destroy their instruments. This oppressive measure was followed in 1652 by the English Parliament, passing the Act for the Suppression of Irish Music, specifically aimed at eliminating Irish harpers and their music, as well as any gatherings where harp music was performed. Ironically, while this suppression was taking place in Ireland, Queen Elizabeth was enjoying Irish dances performed by her own harper in her London court. The harp's decline in prominence was also influenced by other factors beyond direct suppression. The emigration of leading families in the 17th and 18th centuries meant that harpers lost the traditional audience of the castle. The arrival of Italian music and the growing popularity of instruments like the pianoforte and the violin also contributed to the harp's decline in both country houses and popular meeting places by the 19th century. Despite the severe oppressive measures, the Irish harp tradition managed to survive thanks to a few dedicated individuals who risked punishment to preserve their musical heritage. It took nearly 2 centuries for the harp to be celebrated once again in Ireland. A pivotal moment in the harp's revival was the Belfast Harp Festival in 1792, organised by members of the Belfast Society for Promoting Knowledge. Its aim was to revive the old lost tradition and benefit the Belfast Charitable Society. This festival coincided with Bastille Day celebrations and was supported by United Irishmen. Edward Bunting, a classically trained keyboard player and church organist, was appointed musical director of a new society formed in 1808, the Belfast Harp Society. He meticulously notated the music of the 10 harpers who performed at the 1792 festival, including the celebrated Arthur O'Neill, then 75 years old. Bunting spent many years travelling Ireland, visiting the last of the harpers and documenting their repertoire and techniques, with the goal of publishing the tunes for contemporary performance to keep the repertoire alive. His field notebooks, preserved in Queen's University Belfast, are an incredibly rich resource for understanding the old native Irish harp tradition. The Belfast Harp Society and its successor, the Irish Harp Society, were philanthropic associations formed to sustain the music and tradition of itinerant Irish harpers. They sought to instruct blind children in harp playing, thus preserving the musical legacy of harpers like Arthur O'Neill and saving the children from destitution. While the Belfast Harp Society eventually closed due to financial difficulties and internal scandals, the Irish Harp Society was reconvened thanks to a large subscription from Irish expatriates in India. One of the new society's masters was Valentine Rainey, a former pupil of O'Neill, who even performed for King George IV in 1821. Despite these efforts, the societies struggled with a decline in local interest, partly due to the emigration of gentry and the rise of other instruments like the pianoforte. A key figure in this period of transition and preservation was Turlough O'Carolan, born 1670 and died 1738. Blinded by smallpox at 18, he was apprenticed to a harper and spent nearly 50 years travelling Ireland, composing and performing. Carolan is considered by some to be Ireland's national composer, celebrated for his gift of melodic composition that resonated deeply with the occasions and families he visited. Over 220 of his compositions survive, blending traditional Gaelic harping with influences from continental classical music. Though most of his compositions were not published in his lifetime, they were preserved in the repertoires of fiddlers, pipers, and the last of the old Irish harpers and singers, later collected by Bunting and others. Carolan's efforts were crucial in keeping the harping tradition alive in his time, and his tunes are still played by popular artists today. The harp's symbolism continued to evolve alongside Irish nationalism. The United Irishmen in the late 18th century, inspired by revolutionary ideals, adopted the harp as their symbol in their fight against English rule, famously featuring a yellow harp on a green background, with the motto, "It is new strung and shall be heard." This motto reflected a determination to revive the nation's spirit and culture. Finally, the harp became the official emblem of Ireland's newfound independence in 1922, representing the Irish Free State. Today, the image of the harp specifically modelled on the Trinity College harp, albeit a restored, wider version than its original thinned state, which had informed earlier heraldic designs, is prominently displayed on all Irish passports, coins, official seals, and the coat of arms of the Republic of Ireland. Today there is a vibrant and renewed interest in the Irish harp, particularly the wire-strung harp, and ancient playing techniques. The Historical Harp Society of Ireland, the HHSI, founded in 2002 in Kilkenny, leads this rediscovery. Their core mission is to bring back the lost sound world of Ireland's medieval musical instrument, aiming to return the true sound of the oldest Irish music. The Historical Harp Society of Ireland's efforts are comprehensive, building a community of artists and audiences, players and tutors, researchers and experts, harp makers and organologists. They offer various initiatives inspiring and guiding the next generation of performers with expert advice, resources, and performance opportunities, offering online Zoom courses from post-beginner to professional levels, covering a wide range of early Irish harp topics, hosting Ireland's annual international festival with concerts, talks, interactive workshops, players' sessions, and beginner taster events, supporting harp makers with in-depth studies of historic Irish harps, including CT scans of instruments like the Queen Mary harp, and providing downloadable research databases, helping students find in-person or online tutors in Ireland, Italy, Great Britain, the USA, Canada, Brazil, and even Japan, partnering with festivals and organisations across Ireland to offer concerts, talks, and beginners workshops. They provide low-cost access to early Irish harps based on medieval to 18th century originals, available to students of HHSI tutors, sharing guides to historical repertoire and maintaining a YouTube channel with over 80 videos of performances, talks and workshops. They also preserve antique and replica harps, and they're accepting donations of 18th to early 20th century instruments. They supply harp makers with willow timber suitable for building medieval to 18th century harps in partnership with a bioengineering company. The Edinburgh International Harp Festival, held annually since 1982, also plays a significant role in the revival, featuring performances and instructional workshops. These modern efforts aim to directly connect and relearn the nuances of the old traditions, despite the historical full stop in direct lineage of master to student teaching. Researchers like Simon Chadwick emphasise the importance of studying historical portraits, surviving instruments like Patrick Quinn's and Dennis Hempson's harps, and Bunting's field transcripts to reconstruct posture, hand position, and playing techniques, seeking to rediscover a sound world that doesn't fit into the Anglo-continental modern folk side of things. The Irish harp's journey is a powerful testament to the resilience and cultural pride of the Irish people. From its ancient and contested origins through its revered status in Gaelic society, its suppression during centuries of foreign rule, and its eventual re-emergence as a national symbol, the harp has endured. Though it may have yielded some popularity to instruments like the flute, fiddle, and tin whistle in modern traditional Irish music, its iconic presence on national emblems serves a constant reminder of Ireland's rich musical heritage and the enduring power of its cultural symbols. The oppressed harpers of the past, in a profound way, have had the final say, as their instrument remains one of the most recognised and cherished symbols of Ireland. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please give it a like. It really helps the channel grow. Double check as well if you're subscribed, and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. As always as well, I want to give a special shout out to all the channel members whose support makes videos like this possible. If you'd like to join and support the channel a little bit more than just subscribing, hit that join button down below and you can get a few extra perks as well. And don't forget to check out InsideIrishMusic.com, where you'll find our shop, extra articles, and some more resources to explore. If you have thoughts, memories, or your own connection to today's topic, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. But anyway, that's enough from me. Until next time, slán go fóill, cheers.